Hey everybody, it's New Year's Eve tomorrow and 2017 is right around the corner, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday season so far. And I know it's kind of winding down, but a lot of people will be taking vacation into next week. And by the way, I'm Melissa, and cheers, Happy New Year. I'm drinking my tea, and I am so excited to be back. I've been off Facebook Live for the past couple weeks, just given a little holiday break, and I'm super excited today to talk about 2017 and how we can set ourselves up to stay away from food traps and diet mishaps. And the holidays always tend to be a little challenging for people, and it's a time of year where we really get out of balance. And I hosted my Balanced and Blissed Holiday Challenge, and it was so awesome. And there were 150 people in the challenge, and it was just really wonderful to see people set themselves up to have a balanced holiday season. And it was just a really great way to kind of navigate through these holidays without getting completely out of balance and without losing that kind of sense of ourselves. And I gave tons of awesome tips, and if you join my Food Freedom group on Facebook, you'll be able to see all those videos and you can get all those great tips. They apply for everyday life. So I'm super excited for 2017. I'm ready for the holidays to be over. I have to be honest, I'm not a big fan. I very much like what I call normalcy in my life and routine. Oh, Susan, thanks. Love my hat too. It's a little chilly here today and kind of rainy, so I figured I'd wear my little hat. Anyway, so I am definitely a person who likes normalcy, and I am a recovering perfectionist. And the funny thing is, I bought myself this little tea mug for Christmas which says Virgo on it because I'm a Virgo. And guess what the first quality is on the back? Perfectionist. Realist, practical, dependable, and sincere. I love those. But yeah, perfectionist, it's definitely a curse of the Virgo, and just been something that I've struggled with most of my life. And so I am super excited to be here today to just talk to you about moving into 2017 and how we can set ourselves up to have an incredible year with food, with our bodies, not having to diet anymore, none of that jargon around weight loss or yo-yoing or restricting ourselves, none of that stuff. I want you to go in 2017 feeling good, empowered, and strong. One thing that I love to do on New Year's Eve, and I sent this out through my newsletter, is I love to spend some quiet time and reflect on the last year. And I go month by month, and this is a ritual that one of my colleagues and mentors set up. Her name's Christine Hassler, and she's a life coach, and she's incredible. And she set up this ritual about really reflecting each month from the last year, looking at the wins, looking at where we can learn more about ourselves, and then also where we can grow, and then the things that we want to shift and let go of. And then moving into 2017, what are the things that we want to create for ourselves? How do we want to feel? What are the things that we want to build for ourselves? I'm someone who does not set resolutions. I don't really set lofty goals, but what I do is I focus on how I want to feel moving into a new year. And this past year for me was all about fun, and I wanted to have a lot of fun. That was the feeling that I really wanted to cultivate in my life, and I felt like I accomplished that. I had a lot of fun this last year, and it's not to say that, hi Wendy, it's not to say that I didn't have my downs, because I had my ups and downs, but I definitely kept my focus on areas where that felt fun to me. So this year for me, I'm really going to focus on nurturing more of my creative spirit. And, I am such a creative person, and I find that when I let go of that I get really out of balance in my life, and being creative in my life helps me to become more balanced. It helps me to reconnect to myself. And by the way, I took all of these photos behind me. That's one of my creative outlets. I love taking photographs. I love following the sunset. And I love to just, be creative in my life. And that's one of the ways that I stay connected to myself. So this year for me is all about nurturing more of my creative spirit. And I'm super excited about that. And one thing I really love to do also is dance. And I was a big swing dancer when I lived in San Diego. And I kind of got away from that. And now that I'm older, I don't really go to clubs or bars anymore. And, there's not really that many places to dance that aren't a bar or a club. And but there is a great swing dance community here. So I'm making a commitment to myself to actually move toward that again, because partner dancing just to me is so fun. And it's one of the moments when I experience pure joy and bliss, when I'm just in the dance and I'm really connected and loving it. So let's talk about 2017 and how we can avoid diet mishaps and food traps in 2017. And I think that this is specifically the time of year when people start to think about, I'm going to go on that next diet, or I'm going to restrict this food, or I'm going to cut out sugar, or I'm going to cut out gluten, or whatever it is. We start to go into that mindset of, what am I going to cut out? How am I going to lose weight? I'm going to up my exercise. I'm going to join the gym, whatever that is. Did you know that only 8% of people who make resolutions stick to them? 8%. So that was why I stopped setting resolutions years ago. I mean, I used to set them all the time when I was really stuck in my crazy food mind and my crazy weight loss and body and all that crazy stuff. And I would set resolutions for myself every year that I would literally by mid-January give up on and feel like a failure. And so I stopped doing that. And that's why I was talking earlier about, how do I really want to feel as I move into the new year? And nurturing my creative spirit is something that is going to really support me as I move into this new year. And then how can I make choices to align with that? So with the food, I would love to see you, if you're someone who's been struggling with yo-yo dieting, with your weight, maybe emotional eating, stress eating, troubles with food just in general. I feel like there's so much information out there. We're just bombarded by, don't eat this, do eat this, go paleo, go vegan, whatever it is. It's just, there's so much information. And when I get on calls with my clients and I first start working with them, the first thing they say is like, I'm just so confused. I feel like I don't know what end is up in terms of food. And food has changed so much over the years. It really has become different. There's now GMOs, there's a lot of different toxins in food that actually make weight loss a heck of a lot harder now than 50 years ago. If people would go on a diet then, they would drop weight and keep it off and it wasn't a struggle. But now, with all the additives and all the addictive qualities and natures of food, it's really, really hard, a lot harder to lose weight. So not only do the toxins change our hormones, but the food is made to be more addictive. So that's why it's so important to eat a clean whole foods diet, and not from a place of having rules, but just from a place of really honoring your body from a place of health and vitality, because our health is our wealth. And if we don't have our health, it doesn't matter how much money we have in the world. It doesn't matter how much stuff we have. Our health is really our wealth. So we want to nurture our health. We want to take care of ourselves. So I'm going to share with you 4 of my top tips today about how you can avoid diet mishaps and food traps in the new year. I do have some notes, so I might look down a couple times because I don't like to miss anything. But the first thing is to never diet again. Stop dieting. Don't even say the word. Challenge those destructive diet voices in your head that always want to go to that place as a solution, because it's really not a solution. And, if diets worked, you wouldn't have to continually go on them over and over. And the fact that you want to go on another one is just a sign that the ones in the past haven't worked, right? So take that word out of your vocabulary, those 2 words, I'm dieting, or the 3 words, I'm going on a diet, or 4 words, whatever that is. But let's move away from that. Challenge those destructive diet voices in your head, because those are the ones that really cause a lot of suffering. That constant idea of restriction and dieting and, Yes, Wendy, right on. Susan, give Pumpkin a hug. I will give Pumpkin a hug. She's actually sleeping right underneath of me. And my camera's on a tripod, so I can't move it. Otherwise, I'd show you Pumpkin. But really, whenever we diet, we're basically telling our bodies we don't trust them. Because our bodies, and you've all heard me say this before, our bodies want to be healthy. Our bodies want to be balanced. They want to be normalized. They want us to care for them, and they want to care for us. And they're just an innocent party in this whole, thing of our mind where we are constantly fighting against our bodies. And dieting just keeps us in that battle with our bodies. And so stop dieting and, start to put some practices into place where you can start to trust yourself with food. And I know that's not easier. It's easier said than done. And I'm going to give you a couple other tips to actually start to lean into that. And because it's definitely easier said than done, it's not just about, okay, I'm just going to, eat good all the time, because that's not how it works. And from my own journey, I've really learned that so much of this is the psychology around food and the psychology of our eating. And so, it's really important to look at the inner workings around our belief system with food and our belief system with our bodies and our body image. And so much of my food issues really were linked to my body image and growing up, and how I would starve myself so I would be skinnier, or so I would look perfect, or I would over-exercise, or I would restrict myself and eat only fat-free foods back in the 90s when that was like the big thing. And I just didn't know. And what I really didn't know is that I had to turn toward myself, and I had to do the internal work, and I had to change my belief system. So number one, stop dieting, stop saying the word, stop thinking about it. You're going to think about it, but challenge those voices. Challenge the diet voices. Like, we'll go into number two, which is lean into the why. Lean into the why of your eating. Why do I always want to go on a diet? Why do I emotionally eat? Why do I stress eat? Why do I turn to food toward comfort? And when I say lean into the why, I don't mean asking it from a judgmental place. I mean being curious about it. Lean into the curiosity of the why. Like, I'm really curious about this. Why do I do this? What's driving this? What am I feeling? What am I looking to get from food? Other than nourishment, especially if I'm eating when I'm not hungry. So really leaning into the why. And maybe, you can write some little notes down, and with that question of like, what comes up for you? Like, why do I do this? Like really asking yourself that question and getting super, super honest with yourself. And it can be hard, it can be hard, especially when you don't have support. So number three, and this really goes along with number one, but stop counting calories, stop restricting yourself, and start counting clean. And what I mean by counting clean is just put as much clean food, whole foods into your body as you possibly can. So counting calories is just going to lead you to deprivation and restriction. And the second you start to count calories and restrict yourself, that's when that little voice kicks in that's like, I want that. I want to overeat. I want to eat what I'm not supposed to eat. The second we tell ourselves we can't have something, we want it, And look, I've struggled with this mostly all of my life, and I'm not completely 100% over it. I relate to it in a much different way. I've healed a lot of it, and I still catch myself at times really going into like, I have to stop doing that. I have to stop eating gluten. I have to stop doing this. I have to stop doing that. And then I'm like, well, why? Why do I need to stop that? If it's making me feel bad, that's one thing. Like I don't eat white sugar. I don't eat dairy. There's a lot of things that I don't eat because it just doesn't feel good for my body. And I figured that out over years. And it's really about trusting my body and listening to my body. And it always gives me feedback and information. So, but the second I start to restrict from a place from here versus what my body really needs, it's a whole different ballgame. And then I want that thing even more, or I go off the rails, and it's like I almost set myself up to feel bad about myself, because a lot of times with this relationship with food, there's so much shame that goes along with it, and there's hiding, and there's emotional eating, and there's so much that goes along with it. And that's why I was talking earlier about the psychology of it. So number one, stop dieting. Number two, lean into the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I dieting all the time? Why do I need to weigh 125 pounds to feel good about myself? Just really ask these questions. You might not have the answers, but just start to get honest with yourself about it, and that's a really good entry point. That's a great place to start, with the honesty around it. Stop counting calories and count clean instead. How much clean whole food can I put in my body? That's what's important here. How much clean whole food can I put in my body? Because you want to nourish yourself, right? And you want to put food in that's going to serve your body. And that doesn't mean it's eating just paleo or not grains or only eating vegan. It means that you're listening to what your body wants. It means that you may have heard the term before, intuitive eating, and that's what I really do with my body. Is I intuitively eat. Like this morning after I played volleyball, I came home and I had brown rice and kale, and I made an incredible goddess tahini sauce, and that's what I have for breakfast at 10 a.m. And I had a banana before I play volleyball just to give myself a little sustenance, but I usually like to eat really light before I work out just because my stomach doesn't like it first thing in the morning. And that's because I've learned and I've listened to my body. It's all about listening to your body. And you don't have to eat just because it's lunchtime. You don't have to eat just because it's dinner time. You eat when you're physically hungry. And oftentimes we don't even know that feeling because we're so used to eating 7 a.m., 10 a.m. snack, 12 p.m. lunch, 3 p.m. snack, 6 p.m. dinner, right? And then we have our little dessert. So thank you, Scott. Define clean food. I will talk about that in a second. Thanks for asking that question. But stop counting calories, count clean. And I'm going to go to the last one and then I'll go back to that, Scott. Number 4, no more resolutions. So no more dieting, no more resolutions. I would say set intentions and purpose for yourself. Like, be intentional about this next year. I know this is something you've probably heard. How can you be on purpose this next year for yourself? What really brings you joy? What feels good to you? How do you want to feel as you go into this next year? Because making resolutions to lose weight, join a gym, all that stuff, 8% of people only last with resolutions. 8%. That's not a lot. And so your chances and your odds are not that great. Believe me, I know that from experience. So no more resolutions. Do some sort of ritual, like where you can look at how you want to feel in this next year and what are the things you need to do to cultivate those feelings. And Danielle Laporte, who is an amazing teacher, is someone that I love, and she's got a book, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's a great book about setting up your core feelings and how you want to feel. And I love going through her book every year as well. And it's just mind map. What is it called? I don't remember. Anyway, I'll post it up under the video afterwards. Desire map. That's what it's called. I knew it would come to me. Anyway, so no more resolutions. Really be intentional and purposeful about what you want to create and how you want to feel in this next year. So Scott, someone who's live here on this video and someone who's been, following me for years and part of my tribe, and just so grateful for you, Scott, and for all your questions, for always being present on these live videos. He asked me to define clean food, and what I would say is clean food is something that does not come from a plant. So, and when I say plant, I mean a building, something that's not manufactured in a bag, box, or a can. And so I really have this rule of 90% clean whole food. So anything that comes from a tree, out of the ground, even if you are a meat eater, that's, eating clean meat is really, really important. Knowing your sources, meeting your farmers, that's clean food. Anything that grows, basically. And, or if it's a clean animal product. And then everything else that's manufactured and processed is really, there are levels, of course, and you want to always choose what I say is upgrade. You want to choose the most upgraded form of, if you're going to have cereal, choose the lowest sugar cereal, most quality whole grains, things like that, or eat oatmeal. You know, so if it's grown and it comes out of the ground or it's a natural resource, then that's considered a clean food. Anytime it comes out of a bag, box, or a can, unless it's like a canned item with one ingredient, like canned tomatoes or, sorry, I'm just reading some comments. It's really fun. Or beans or stuff like that. And it's always better to obviously cook your beans and buy them in bulk, but sometimes we need convenience and canned beans work. And I use canned beans quite a bit, and I rinse them really well, and I buy the BPA-free cans. And so just educating yourself about the cleanliness of food. There's so much information out there. And, you know, so eating clean is really going to support your body, and it's going to feed your body in a way where you won't have all of these crazy cravings, and you'll feel nourished and you'll feel satisfied. So I run food-based cleanses, and it's really based off of whole, clean foods. And people are always blown away when they do my cleanses about how satisfied they feel, and they don't have cravings, and they don't want to eat a bunch of crappy food. So whole foods, eating clean whole foods is really, really important. And for our health, because our health is our wealth, for our vitality, for our bodies, for us to, you know, sleep, managing stress. There's all these kind of basic life things that we really want to make sure we're doing to take care of ourselves. And so I'm going to be hosting a teleclass in January talking more about this and talking about sugar and how to, you know, basically get sugar not completely out of your life, but get it to a place where it's not something you're craving that you feel out of control with. Because I remember for years I felt so out of control with sugar, and it just doesn't make me feel good. And when I talk to people, they say the same thing. Like, I'll eat it and I'll indulge it, and then I feel like crap. I get a headache, I'm run down, I feel depressed, I can't sleep. Like, there's so many things, because it stimulates, number one, it's addictive. It gives us that rush. Our blood sugar levels go up and down, then we crave more, and it stimulates our nervous system as well. It stimulates and depresses our nervous system, so it does like one first and then the other one right after. So, and it depresses our immune system. So, you know, you want to be really mindful about that stuff. So I'm going to be hosting a teleclass in the second week of January. I'll be sending an email out. So if you're not on my email list, sign up on my Facebook page and that little sign up button, the blue button under my header, and you'll get all the information about the teleclass. And it's just, it's going to be a lot of information on really taking your relationship with food, your cravings, all of that to a place that feels balanced and feels good and feels aligned with what you want to create in this next year. So I'm going to actually sign off, and I love being here, and I thank you so much for joining me today. And I don't want to keep talking on and on, because I could. I love this, and I just always have so much to say. But you can catch me here next week on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And thanks again for joining me, and happy New Year. Take some time to set some intentions for yourself and to really look at how you want to be purposeful and how you want to feel as you move into 2017. And I'm all about creativity. I'm going to be sharing my creative endeavors on my Facebook page. So cheers to you guys. Have fun, be safe, and really go into this new year with an open heart and just be available for whatever's going to come. All right, you guys take care. Peace.